The bass from the speakers thrummed through the polished marble floors of Davidson and Associates' downtown headquarters. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over the sea of employees celebrating another record-breaking quarter. Emma Rodriguez stood near the champagne fountain, her emerald dress catching the light as she watched her husband, Michael, navigate through clusters of his coworkers. They'd been married for 6 years, together for 9. She knew his body language better than anyone. The way he tilted his head when genuinely interested in conversation, how his shoulders relaxed around people he trusted. Right now, those shoulders were stiff, despite the smile plastered across his face. The cause of his tension had a name, Vanessa Pierce, the new marketing director who'd joined the firm 3 months ago. Emma had heard about her in passing. Michael mentioned she was ambitious, talented, a real go-getter. What he hadn't mentioned was how she moved through the party like a predator circling prey. Emma watched as Vanessa approached Michael near the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. She wore a dress that left little to the imagination, red silk clinging to curves that seemed strategically positioned as weapons. Her laugh carried across the room, practiced and musical. "Your husband's quite popular tonight," said Janet from accounting, appearing at Emma's elbow with a knowing smile. "He always is at these things," Emma replied, keeping her voice light even as her fingers tightened around her champagne flute. Across the room, Vanessa placed her hand on Michael's forearm. The touch lingered, too long, too familiar. Emma's stomach twisted. She watched Vanessa lean in close, her lips nearly brushing Michael's ear as she whispered something. Michael's expression flickered with discomfort, but Vanessa was already laughing, her other hand joining the first on his arm. Emma knew she should walk over, reclaim her territory with a smile and a kiss on her husband's cheek. But something kept her rooted in place. She wanted to see how Michael would handle this. Would he step back, politely excuse himself, or would he enjoy the attention? The music shifted to something slower, more intimate. Couples drifted toward the makeshift dance floor. Vanessa's hands slid from Michael's arms, and for a moment, Emma thought the interaction was over. But then Vanessa said something else, gesturing toward the bar, and Michael nodded. Emma's heart hammered. She set down her champagne and started moving through the crowd, but bodies blocked her path. David from legal wanted to discuss the holiday schedule. The CEO's wife grabbed her hand to compliment her dress. By the time she broke free, Michael and Vanessa had disappeared into the crowd. The party swirled around her, laughter and music blending into white noise. Emma made her way to the balcony, needing air, needing space to think. The December wind bit through her dress, but she welcomed the cold. It cleared her head. She trusted Michael. She did. But trust didn't eliminate the sick feeling in her stomach, or the image of Vanessa's hands on her husband's arm burned into her mind like a brand. Emma stood on the balcony for 15 minutes, letting the city lights blur as she blinked back unexpected tears. This was ridiculous. Michael loved her. They had a good marriage, a solid marriage. One overly friendly coworker didn't change that. She turned to head back inside to find her husband and claim him with a possessive kiss that would send a clear message to anyone watching. But as she pulled open the glass door, she spotted something that made her pause. Vanessa was weaving through the crowd near the hallway that led to the executive offices. Emma's eyes narrowed. The woman glanced around furtively before slipping into the dimly lit corridor, alone. No, not alone. 30 seconds later, Michael emerged from a conversation with his boss and headed in the same direction. Emma's heart dropped. No, this couldn't be happening. Not her Michael, not her steady, honest, faithful husband who still brought her coffee in bed every Saturday morning and left love notes in her briefcase. She followed, maintaining distance, her heels silent on the carpet as she entered the hallway. The sounds of the party faded behind her, replaced by the thundering of her own pulse. Framed photos of company milestones lined the walls, watching her like silent judges. The executive wing was quiet, most offices dark. Emma pressed herself against the wall near the corner, listening. Voices drifted from somewhere ahead. Michael's deep timbre and Vanessa's higher pitch. "I've been wanting to talk to you alone all night," Vanessa was saying. Emma's breath caught. She inched forward, peering around the corner. They stood near Michael's office door, Vanessa positioned between him and escape, her body angled toward his with predatory intent. "Vanessa," We're at a company party, Michael said, his voice firm but not unkind. If you need to discuss the Morrison project, we can schedule a meeting Monday. I'm not talking about work, Michael. Vanessa stepped closer. In the dim hallway light, Emma could see her hand reaching up to touch his chest. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The way you look at me during meetings. The tension between us. Emma's nails dug into her palms. This was it, the moment her world would shatter. She should leave, shouldn't torture herself by watching. But her feet refused to move. There's no tension, Michael said, his voice harder now. He caught Vanessa's wrist before her hand could make contact. Whatever you think you've been seeing, you're wrong. Am I? Vanessa pressed against him, using her free hand to touch his face. I've seen how you... Stop. Michael pushed her hand away firmly, stepping back. I'm married, happily married, and even if I wasn't, this, he gestured between them, would never happen. The relief that flooded through Emma was so intense she had to grip the wall for support. But she stayed hidden, needing to hear more, needing to understand what had been happening in her husband's workplace while she'd been oblivious. Vanessa's expression shifted from seductive to calculating. Does your wife know how much time we spend together? How late you stay at the office working on presentations with me? Working, just working. Michael's voice carried an edge Emma rarely heard. And yes, Emma knows. I tell her everything about my day, including working with you on projects, because I have nothing to hide. Vanessa laughed, but it sounded brittle now, desperate. You're really going to pretend you don't feel it? The chemistry? Michael, I know you notice me. I've seen the way your eyes... Find someone. In meetings. That's all. Michael cut her off, his patience clearly exhausted. Because you're my colleague, and I'm professional. That's where it starts and ends. Emma watched her husband, pride swelling in her chest despite the uncomfortable situation. This was the man she'd married, direct, honest, unwavering in his commitment. Vanessa's expression hardened. She straightened her dress, composure cracking. You're making a mistake. Your wife doesn't understand your ambition, your drive. I heard her at the company picnic, talking about wanting you to take time off, to slow down. She's holding you back. Don't. Michael's voice turned cold. Don't you dare talk about my wife. Emma is the best thing that ever happened to me. She supports every dream I have while making sure I don't lose myself in the process. That's not holding me back. That's love. He stepped around Vanessa, creating clear distance between them. Here's what's going to happen. We're going back to the party separately. On Monday, I'm requesting a different team assignment. If you have a problem with that, you're welcome to discuss it with HR. You'd really throw away the Morrison account? The biggest deal of your career? Vanessa's voice rose slightly. For my marriage? Without hesitation. Michael straightened his tie. I suggest you get yourself together before going back out there. And Vanessa? He paused at the corner. If you ever touch me again without permission or try something like this, I won't be this polite. I'll go straight to HR with a harassment complaint. Are we clear? Emma couldn't see Vanessa's face, but she heard the sharp intake of breath. Crystal. Michael disappeared around the corner, back toward the party. Emma quickly ducked into an empty office, her heart racing. Through the crack in the door, she watched Vanessa stand alone in the hallway for a long moment. The woman's carefully constructed mask had slipped, revealing something ugly underneath, entitled fury mixed with humiliation. Vanessa pulled out her phone, her fingers flying across the screen. Emma caught a glimpse of a group chat name, Davidson and Associates After Hours. Whatever Vanessa was typing, it was long and detailed. Emma's protective instincts roared to life. She'd seen her husband handle the situation with integrity, but she knew how office politics worked. Vanessa could spin this any way she wanted. By Monday morning, rumors could be spreading that Michael had led her on, that he'd been having an emotional affair, that Emma was the jealous wife causing problems. No, that wasn't happening. Not on Emma's watch. She waited until Vanessa finally stalked back toward the party before emerging from her hiding spot. Emma made her way to the bathroom, needing a moment to process everything. The ornate powder room was blissfully empty. She gripped the marble counter, staring at her reflection. Her husband was faithful, completely, utterly faithful. He'd rejected advances that many men wouldn't have, had done so clearly and firmly. But Vanessa, that woman was dangerous. The type who couldn't handle rejection, who might decide if she couldn't have Michael, she'd ruin him professionally instead. Emma reapplied her lipstick with steady hands. She'd spent 6 years as Michael's partner, and before that she'd been a corporate litigation specialist. She knew how to handle people like Vanessa Pierce. Emma returned to the party with her head high and a plan forming. She found Michael near the bar, accepting a whiskey from the bartender. His shoulders were still tense, jaw tight. When he saw her, though, his expression softened immediately. "There you are," he said, pulling her close and kissing her temple. "I've been looking for you." "Have you?" Emma kept her voice light, sliding her hand along his chest where Vanessa had tried to touch him. She felt his sharp intake of breath, saw the recognition in his eyes that this touch was different, claimed, possessive, wanted. "Always," Michael murmured against her ear, his hand settling on her lower back. The simple touch sent warmth through her. 6 years of marriage hadn't diminished the electric current between them. "Dance with me," Emma said, not quite a request. Michael set down his drink and led her to the floor. The music had shifted to something slow and sultry. As they moved together, Emma positioned them so she could see across the room. Vanessa had returned, touching up her makeup, but her eyes were locked on them with barely concealed venom. "That new marketing director seems friendly," Emma said casually, her lips near Michael's ear. She felt him stiffen slightly. "Emma, I need to tell you something." "About how she followed you into the hallway?" Emma pulled back enough to meet his eyes. "About how she propositioned you, and you shut her down completely." Michael's eyes widened. "You saw that?" "I saw enough." Emma's hand slid up to cup his face. "I saw my husband prove exactly why I married him, why I trust him completely." Relief flooded Michael's features, followed by something darker, desire mixed with fierce love. "I was going to tell you in the car. I didn't want you blindsided if she tried to start rumors." "Oh, she's definitely starting rumors." Emma nodded toward the corner where Vanessa was whispering intensely to 2 other employees, her phone screen visible. "See how she keeps showing them her phone? She's controlling the narrative." Michael's jaw clenched. "I'll talk to HR first thing Monday." "No." Emma's voice was firm. "We handle this smarter. HR complaints can backfire, make you look defensive. We need witnesses, credibility." "We?" Michael raised an eyebrow. "You think I'm letting some corporate climber try to destroy my husband's reputation?" Emma's smile was sharp. "I didn't spend 3 years in litigation for nothing, baby." The song ended, but they stayed close, swaying slightly. Emma's mind worked through scenarios, strategies. She'd noticed Janet from accounting, watching the earlier interaction with interest. Janet was smart, observant, and, more importantly, had been with the company for 15 years. Her word carried weight. "Here's what we do," Emma said quietly. "First, you're going to spin me around, dip me, and kiss me like you haven't seen me in months. Make it clear to everyone watching that we are very much in love and very much together." Michael's eyes darkened with understanding and heat. "And then?" "Then you're going to introduce me properly to your boss and his wife. I'm going to be charming and supportive and make it abundantly clear that I'm very present in your professional life." "You're kind of scary when you go into strategy mode," Michael murmured, his hands sliding lower on her back. "You love it." "I really do." Michael pulled her flush against him and spun her across the floor. Other couples parted, giving them space. When he dipped her low, Emma arched back gracefully, her hair sweeping the floor. The kiss he gave her was not office party appropriate. It was deep, claiming, full of promise for later. When he pulled her upright, scattered applause broke out. Emma glanced around and caught Vanessa's expression, pure fury barely masked by a forced smile. Perfect. The following Monday morning, Emma arrived at Michael's office building carrying coffee and pastries. She dressed carefully, professional but not aggressive, a navy sheath dress that commanded respect without trying too hard. "Mrs. Rodriguez," the security guard Tony greeted her warmly. "Mr. Rodriguez didn't mention you were coming by." "Surprise visit," Emma said with a smile. "Can I bring you a coffee, Tony?" "You're too kind, but I'm good. He's up on the 8th floor." Emma rode the elevator up, her heels clicking confidently across the polished floors. She passed cubicles and offices, greeting people she recognized from company events. Several employees did double takes, clearly not expecting to see her. She found Michael in his office on the phone. When he saw her, surprise and pleasure crossed his face. He wrapped up the call quickly. "What are you doing here?" he asked, pulling her in for a kiss. "Bringing my husband breakfast before his big Morrison presentation." Emma set the coffee and pastries on his desk, "and making sure everyone knows I exist." Michael's expression shifted to understanding. "Emma, you don't have to." "I want to." She straightened his tie, letting her hands linger. "Besides, I heard Vanessa's been spreading some interesting stories." "How did you—" "Janet from accounting called me yesterday. Apparently, Vanessa told half the office that you've been flirting with her for weeks, that your marriage is rocky, and that Friday night you came on to her but backed off when you got scared." Michael's face darkened. "That's complete bullsh." "I know." Emma's voice was calm. "Which is why I'm here. Janet's not the only one who saw what really happened. Your boss's assistant, Maria, saw Vanessa following you into the hallway. She thought it was suspicious enough to mention to Janet." As if on cue, there was a knock on the door. Janet appeared, with another woman Emma recognized from the party, Karen, who worked in client relations. "Sorry to interrupt," Janet said, though her expression suggested she wasn't sorry at all. "Emma, you have a minute? We wanted to talk to you about something." The three women stepped into the hallway, leaving Michael looking confused. Janet got straight to the point. "Vanessa's been spreading poison all weekend," she said quietly. "But Karen and I both saw what actually happened Friday night. She was all over Michael, and he kept trying to maintain professional distance." Karen nodded. "I was near the hallway when they went back there. I heard raised voices, heard Michael tell her to stop and mention his wife. When Vanessa came back out, she looked furious." "I appreciate you both coming forward," Emma said sincerely. "There's more," Janet added. "This isn't the first time. At her last company, Vanessa pulled something similar with a senior partner. It didn't end well for him. His wife divorced him, even though nothing actually happened. Vanessa's smart. She knows how to plant seeds of doubt." Emma's stomach tightened. This was worse than she'd thought. "We're going to HR this morning," Karen said firmly. "Michael's a good guy, and we're not letting her destroy his reputation or your marriage." By noon, the tide had turned completely. 5 employees had come forward with similar observations: Vanessa's inappropriate behavior, her calculated targeting of married men in positions of power, her history of causing professional chaos. HR had launched a full investigation. Michael called Emma around 3. "It's over," he said, relief clear in his voice. "Vanessa's been placed on administrative leave pending the investigation. My boss apologized personally, said he should have noticed the pattern earlier." That evening, Emma and Michael lay tangled together in their bed, the city lights filtering through their curtains. Michael's fingers traced lazy patterns on her shoulder. "I still can't believe you came to my office like that," he said. "You were magnificent." Emma shifted to look at him. "Someone threatened what's mine. I wasn't going to stand by and let it happen." "Yours, huh?" Michael's smile was tender. "Completely mine." Emma kissed him slowly, deeply. "Just like I'm completely yours." Michael rolled them over, settling between her legs, his weight familiar and welcome. "I love you, Emma Rodriguez. Have I mentioned that lately?" "You could mention it again," Emma murmured, her hands sliding under his shirt. "I love you," he breathed against her neck, between kisses. "I love your strength, your intelligence, your fierce loyalty." "Show me," Emma whispered. And he did, with touches that spoke of years of knowing exactly what she needed, kisses that tasted like coming home, whispered words of love and devotion that wrapped around her heart like armor. Later, as they lay sated and peaceful, Emma's phone buzzed. A text from Janet. "Vanessa resigned. Effective immediately. You two won." Emma showed Michael the message. He pulled her closer, pressing a kiss to her hair. "We didn't win," he said quietly. "We just protected what we already had." Emma smiled in the darkness. Her husband, her marriage, her trust, all intact, all stronger for having been tested. Some battles were worth fighting, and some loves were worth protecting at any cost. The end.